In the Arctic, geologists Julia and Oscar are conducting underwater experiments using explosives. Suddenly, they receive a storm warning call and are forced to evacuate quickly. At the same time, a nearby Russian submarine detects powerful, unexplained noises beneath the water. Shockingly, the seabed appears to be rising. Julia's instruments go haywire just as the ice around their camp begins to split apart. She tries to retrieve her research, but Oscar pulls her away to the snowmobile just in time. Meanwhile, the submarine crew determines that the noises are biological. Before they can react, something massive strikes their vessel. On the surface, Julia and Oscar race away as the ice fractures behind and in front of them. Their snowmobile is launched by the shifting ice, and they roll clear before it explodes and sinks. Their entire camp soon follows, sinking into the freezing depths along with the remaining scientists. The submarine continues to sustain heavy damage. The crew struggles to maintain control as the ship shakes violently. Amid the chaos, they manage to fire at the unknown attacker, and for a brief moment, light reveals giant tentacles in the water. One crew member is hurled through a glass panel and loses consciousness. Another officer releases an emergency buoy just before the submarine goes down. At Russian Marines headquarters, officials learn of the submarine's disappearance. Since it was carrying important weapons, a rescue mission is authorized, led by Victor, the missing captain's brother. His family worries for his safety, and his mother gives him their late father's watch for protection. That night, Victor arrives at the docks and discovers that Admiral Olshansky, an old family friend, will be joining the mission. The first mate expresses concern about Olshansky's age and temperament. On board the new submarine, some crew members complain about being called back from vacation. Meanwhile, Julia and Oscar wander through a fierce snowstorm, trying to get a phone signal. Julia nearly falls into a crevice while distracted by her screen, but Oscar saves her. She finally reaches an oil rig by phone, but the storm's noise makes the call incomprehensible, and it cuts out. Oscar fires a flare before collapsing from exhaustion. By morning, the submarine reaches the last known location of the missing vessel and begins its dive. Olshansky gathers senior officers, including Victor, in a private room to read a classified report that leaves them deeply troubled. Rumors of the previous disappearance begin to circulate. Julia and Oscar, now waiting near the buoy stuck in the ice, hope rescuers will come. When the submarine detects the buoy's signal, it heads directly there. A group of whales surround the vessel, prompting the crew to dive deeper to avoid harming them. One whale accidentally hits a propeller, leading Olshansky to activate sonar despite Victor's warnings about potential harm to marine life. When sonar is activated, the whales swim away, only to return moments later. The crew is puzzled until they realize the seabed is rising and a low-frequency sound is present. Suddenly, a massive tentacle strikes and kills one of the whales. The submarine picks up an unidentified large object on radar. Olshansky wants to open fire, but Victor insists they hide instead. They navigate into an icy trench, enduring hits from the ice wall. The sonar noise intensifies, causing pain to those wearing headphones. With no way forward, the crew stops the submarine. Thankfully, the threat passes. While assessing the damage, Olshansky criticizes Victor's decisions. They have no choice but to surface for repairs. On land, Julia and Oscar huddle for warmth and witness the submarine emerging. The crew rescues them and listens to their story. Olshansky suspects they could be spies and wants to leave them behind, but Victor insists on bringing them aboard. Underwater again, the crew begins searching near the buoy. After medical checks, Julia and Oscar are fed. Victor joins them and asks if they saw anything unusual at their camp. When Julia mentions the explosives, Victor suspects they caused his brother's submarine to sink. Despite Olshansky's warnings that they should retreat, Victor is determined to find his brother. He urges the crew onward toward Julia's camp. In private, Olshansky warns Victor not to make another poor decision. Victor tells his first mate that time is critical. The missing crew might soon run out of oxygen. Julia hears a strange sound, and Oscar explains it's the sonar. As the search continues, radar picks up the creature again. Victor instructs the crew to hide, but this time there's no cover. They send an emergency signal to the oil rig and are granted temporary shelter. As the submarine surfaces, rig workers witness enormous tentacles rise from the sea. Alarms blare as the creature attacks, toppling structures and triggering massive explosions. Workers flee in panic, but the rig collapses. The beast approaches, and Olshansky freezes. Victor takes charge again and orders evasive maneuvers. The submarine avoids the worst of the attack, but Tentacle scrapes the hull, causing significant damage. Victor hits his head, and a crew member is crushed by a fallen computer. Fires break out in the torpedo room, trapping 7 people. They manage to control the flames with extinguishers. With pressure increasing, the Kraken surrounds the sub. Victor orders silent mode, hoping the noise-sensitive creature will leave. The torpedo crew endures rising carbon monoxide. The Kraken eventually swims away. The fire spreads beyond control, prompting Victor to order evacuation from the torpedo room and sacrifice the weapons. Injured crew are helped out as the fire is sealed behind doors. By adjusting pressure, they extinguish the fire. As repairs begin, Julia and Oscar assist the medical team, earning trust. Julia treats Victor's wound, and an officer teases her about their connection. She denies romantic interest, but learns Victor risked everything to save her. The crew debates returning. They've no way to fight the Kraken or locate the lost submarine. Olshansky reminds Victor that his father died a hero. After reflection, Victor agrees to head back. While reading his father's final letter, Victor is interrupted by Julia, who notices birds in his room. He explains they're used to monitor oxygen. Julia marks on a map all Kraken sightings and theorizes that her explosives awaken the creature from a long slumber. She advises disabling sonar to avoid attracting it again. Victor asks if she can guess the location of his brother's submarine. Julia says octopuses drag prey to their lairs, likely near her old camp. Just then, a crew member plays a recorded sound from when they were in silent mode, metal knocking. They trace it to Julia's camp and realize survivors may be signaling. Victor delivers a speech about rescuing lives and orders the crew to head to the camp. As they approach, Victor recalls getting lost as a child in the mountains. They're startled when rivets pop from machinery. The sub is too deep. Victor decides to investigate using a mini-submarine. Victor, joined by 2 officers, descends in the mini-sub. Pressure builds as they go deeper than ever. Just as they're about to abort the mission, they hear an echo. They follow it and find a graveyard of sunken ships, proving the Kraken legend's true. They locate the missing submarine, which is damaged but intact at the nose. After a challenging docking process, Victor boards it and finds survivors, including his brother Alexander. They send word back to the main sub, and everyone rejoices. Alexander explains he kept silent mode on and sent signals sparingly to avoid the Kraken. The mini-sub takes as many survivors as it can, needing a second trip. Victor chooses to stay with his brother, while a mechanic fills in as pilot. They plant a tracker on the wreckage, but quickly turn it off to avoid alerting the Kraken. As the mini-sub departs, the wreck shakes but holds. Julia asks Oscar, who has submarine experience, to pilot the next trip. He agrees. Meanwhile, Victor and Alexander recover weapon codes. The system is unresponsive, but Victor manages to reboot it and confirms the weapons are still operational. The electromagnetic signal is detected by the mini-sub, which follows it. Back in the main sub, the Kraken approaches again. The crew dives and enters silent mode. A giant rock hits them, and water floods a compartment. As the mini-sub docks at the wreck, it accidentally reactivates the tracker. The Kraken diverts toward it. Olshansky orders the main sub to surface while it can. Victor crawls through debris to reach the torpedo room. Alexander hears the mini-sub arrive and tells his crew to board. Victor inputs codes, while Alexander operates the computer. The Kraken returns, and they brace for a final attack. The creature tears off the submarine's tail, but it's unoccupied. As it prepares to strike again, the brothers coordinate and fire the weapon. A massive explosion destroys the Kraken and sends a beam of light into the sky. Floodwaters force Victor to crawl back to Alexander. Strong currents separate them, but Victor finds his brother and pulls him to safety. They rush to the mini-sub, sealing the hatch just in time. With only 2 minutes until the wreck explodes, the mini-sub fails to undock. Victor remembers the emergency release and activates it, escaping moments before the blast. Shockwaves toss them through the water. The main sub waits anxiously above. Just when hope fades, bubbles rise and the mini-sub surfaces. As the crew cheers, Victor offers their father's watch to Alexander, who tells him to keep it. He's earned it. Later, the brothers return home to Russia and finally reunite with their family. Movie ends here.